Greetings Terrarians, Khaios here. In the last build tip video, I showed you different styles of stairwells, and I told you that I'd be going to show you some styles of elevators today. So that's what we're going to be going into. The first style that I'm going to be showing you is actually one that you can do right off the bat. As soon as you log into the game, and as soon as you've chopped down a tree, just make yourself a hammer, make yourself some platforms, and you can actually produce this elevator right away. Now I'm just throwing down some walls on the side of the elevators using some dynasty wood, just mostly for aesthetics, just to make it look a little bit better. It's not necessarily mandatory for the elevator itself. And there's going to be the top floor, which will be our goal. So what we're going to do is just line one side of this with some platforms. And then we're going to hammer each of those platforms into a step. So if we just hit it with the hammer once, and we're going to do that all of the way up the elevator. And that's actually going to be the elevator done. So the way this works is it's a kind of a glitch that's become a feature in Terraria called HOIKing. And the way HOIKing works is when you enter a block that's been sloped, you can pass through other blocks and it kind of pushes you onward. And that's the way that this is going to work. So if you line yourself up with the platforms, and the easiest way to do that is just to have a step there and press down and walk against it and then jump up, you'll see that we get carried rapidly towards the top. However, this is kind of a finicky elevator. If you don't jump straight onto the edge like that, you'll just catch the platforms like this and you'll have to jump up manually. Or if you jump on it at an angle and you kind of walk through it, it'll push you through the blocks to the left, which is what HOIKing actually is, and you won't be carried up at all. You'll just be stuck in this little pocket until you step out and just jump your way up. So it's a little bit finicky, though it does get you up relatively quickly. So the best way to kind of deal with that, and let me just grab some stone slabs since that's what I'm using for the floor here, is if you have a bit of a step at the bottom of the elevator. And we'll just remove these blocks right here. So we have a step down and a step up. If I hold the down button, in my case S, when I hit this step, I don't step up automatically, which means I'm perfectly in line with the elevator, and all I need to do is jump straight up and it'll carry me up. So the best way to kind of work with this elevator is if you have a step down, you can still walk through cleanly without having to jump over anything, but you don't need to guess where you're jumping into the elevator. You just hold down and you come to a stop and jump up and you're carried up. The downside to this elevator is that there's no down mechanism. The only way to get down the elevator is to fall. And what I recommend doing in that instance is just having a little bit of rope at the bottom of the elevator on the downside. So we'll go up the elevator and we're going to jump down here, but we're also going to hold the up arrow or the W key on our way down so we catch that rope and we don't take fall damage, because it is, in this case, quite a long fall. We could also hold the down S key and we'll just kind of snag that rope on the way down without taking any fall damage. And just to show you how much fall damage I'd take if I didn't press anything, we'll just fall through and not catch the rope. So for most new characters, that would kill them right out. So that's the first elevator design. I'm going to go ahead and show you the second one, which is a little bit more advanced. For the second elevator design, it's actually going to be a bit similar to the first one in that it's going to be made with HOIK mechanics. The difference is this one's going to be a little bit more reliable. It's going to be a little bit easier to use. You don't need to line yourself up perfectly. The trade-off is is that you need to have wiring mechanics such as wires, actuators, and the player sensor. So it is not doable as early in the game, but it is a very good means of getting up and down large distances rapidly. So what we're going to do is place 3 rows of blocks just to make the elevator tunnels smaller, and then a row of blocks at the very bottom. I'm using Dynasty wood in this case just because I like the way it looks, but you can use whatever you'd like. And then 3 spaces away from that, so a gap of 2 in between, we're going to place another row, and we're going to do that all of the way up the elevator. And once we have all of those in place, what we're going to need to do is shape them so that they work with the HOIK mechanics. And the way that we are going to shape that is to just make an arrow with it. So the way that this arrow is going to work is that when you enter it, it's going to push you in the upward direction, the way that it's pointing in this instance, into the next series of blocks. If the next series of blocks happens to be that same arrow, it's going to keep pushing you in that same direction, so on and so forth. So we need to shape every one of these rows in the elevator into this arrow shape. And now that we have all of those shaped properly, we have a track that will carry us all of the way up as soon as we enter them. However, as you can see here, it's a physical block. So the question becomes, how exactly can we enter this so that it carries us up? And the answer to that is pretty simple. We just place 2 actuators and we place this into the background, and now we can enter it, but it needs to become solid while we're inside of it for it to carry us up the track. So we grab our logic player sensor and just place it right beneath the arrow and connect it with wiring. So now whenever we jump up and we enter this box, which is the sensor range for the elevator, then it will activate these 2 blocks and carry us all of the way up to the top. And just so you can see, that's much faster than even flying. So if I were to throw on the wings and fly up, you could see that it takes me a couple of seconds to get all the way to the top of the tower. But if I jump in here, it just takes under a second. And that's precisely how the HOIK elevator will work. The good thing about this design is that we could also do that in the downwards direction. So similar to the other side, we're going to do rows, but we're going to actually start with a row of platforms before doing a row of blocks, and then a row of blocks directly under that. The reason for that is that I want you to be able to walk around the elevator without falling into it and being forced down to the bottom. So we have this platform here, at which point we'll be able to tap down if we want to go down the elevator. So we're going to do the same thing. Every 3 tiles or a 2-block gap, we're going to do a row of blocks. And similar to how we did last time, we're going to shape these blocks. However, we need to shape them in a slightly different way in order to get the elevator to push us in the right direction. So what we're going to need to do is make 2 triangles that are pointing down on either side of the elevator shaft. So you'll see here that I have 1 triangle on the left wall, 1 triangle on the right wall, and they're pointing downwards. So it's not quite as obvious as the left side's up arrow, but it is the direction that we need to have these pointed. If you were to try and draw a down arrow like this, it actually won't work the way that you would think, just because of the way that HOIKing works. So you do need to make sure that you hammer them into this shape. And I'm going to go ahead and do that for the entire elevator. So similar to last time, the tiles are solid at the moment, and we need them to be actuated so that we could enter them and then activate once we're inside. So a little bit different than last time. We need this box from the logic sensor to be quite a bit lower. That's actually probably too much. We'll put it there. And what's going to happen is when our feet hit this box, these are going to activate and carry us all the way down. I might need to go a little bit lower than that, but we'll test it here and see if it works. Just wire those up. And all we need to do is press down, and it carries us to the bottom at incredibly fast speeds. So now we have an elevator that'll take us up and take us down with a simple jump and a simple down press. And it's not as finicky as the previous elevator design where you have to get it lined up in order to be carried all the way up. See, I didn't even enter that properly. And it's actually a bit slower too on the older elevator. The problem with this is that I was wearing wings right there, and if you have a means of negating fall damage, it's not a big deal. But if I were to have no wings on, and I go through, you'll see that I do take fall damage. So the blocks are treating it like you're falling the entire distance of the tower. It's just going really, really quick. So the way that you need to counter that is either by having a pool of water at the bottom or having a rope that you can catch onto. But one thing that I really do enjoy doing is replacing the bottom floor, or maybe just adding a small layer to the bottom floor of some silly pink or any color you want really, balloon, and then painting it to kind of match the area. So I obviously need to shape this door so that I can still get in and out. But you see here we now have a layer of silly pink balloon at the bottom. So when we go up and back down, we're going to hit that balloon, give a small bounce, not take any fall damage, and we can go on our way. And it doesn't really block us at all. If you don't want to have that bump there, you could just literally replace the entire floor with the silly pink balloon. Anything that you would like to do, as long as you have a means of negating that fall damage. Of course, if you have a set of wings or a lucky horseshoe or something like that, you don't need to really worry about that. It's just something to bear in mind that if you do this elevator technique, you will take fall damage if you don't have a means of negating it. And that is the two elevator designs that I wanted to show you. If you found the tutorial useful, be sure to leave a like and a comment. I always enjoy gathering your feedback. It really helps the channel grow. Thank you all very much for watching. I'll catch you all later. Happy building.